having some nice weather. Our day's pretty nasty, rainy day for St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if that means if they'll get to turn the water in Savannah green or not. I don't know. I'm thinking they take it pretty serious down there, so maybe so. So today we're in the kitchen, and if you're new here, my name is Brandy, and I want to welcome you to my channel, Sewing Back. We're glad to have you. But today we're going to make a traditional St. Patrick's Day meal. And what does that mean? It means that we have our corned beef. We've got some potatoes. No famine around here. And our cabbage. And I'm also going to make a traditional Irish brown soda bread. Except of course I'm going to put a little trick on it. I'm using the Irish grandma recipe, with the exception of I am going to add some of my sourdough to it. So it's going to be a little soured, just so I know it's going to be in a good place for me. And I've done this enough times with other recipes where I've thrown in some sourdough that it's been just fine. So I'm not too worried about it. But I will link her recipe. Actually, I think it's a video. I think she may have a video that she did live. She's actually a grandma from Ireland, and I saw this, I think this was a couple-year-old video, and so I wanted to give it a try. A lot of people, when they make the Irish soda bread, they put the currants and caraway seed and stuff like that. I'm not doing this. This is actually a rustic brown soda bread. And I'm fortunate because it's really hard to make this bread because you need a coarse wheat ground. And I have a mill, and I can actually change how coarse my flour is, so that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna attempt to make this, and we'll see how it is. But before I get going on making the bread, we're gonna head over to our stove top, because we're gonna get our corned beef. I actually splurged a little this year, and I got a fresh cut corned beef brisket. This is boar's head. So this really can't be any easier. I'm literally taking some kitchen scissors, and I am just gonna open this up and get it in the pan. And it has its little seasoning pack there that came with it, which is I guess kind of like the brine, because the corned beef and cabbage is typically kind of briny tasting. We're going to add this in here. Honestly, I think I'm going to pour the water over the spice powder. If I was just supposed to leave it in the pouch. I didn't, so oh well. I'm kind of thinking that's probably what I was supposed to do. Oh well. Alright, so that was about 3 cups of water. And we're going to turn this on. Wrong eye. There we go. We're going to do it on a low. I'm going to bring it up to a simmer. I'm a big fan of like the boiled kind of cabbage. You could always do, a kraut, or you could do a stir-fried cabbage. We love stir-fried cabbage, so that would also be another way you could go. But I'm going to make it a one-pot wonder and have it with the Irish soda bread. So we're going to put the lid on and leave this alone for right now. Okay guys, so this is my Grain Master Whisper Mill. I don't know that they make these anymore. I think they're called Nutrimills now. This is an oldie but a goodie. But when you have a grain mill, one of the nice things is you can select how coarse you want your grain to be. So I typically do it pretty fine for baking bread, but because this is a very rustic loaf, it's supposed to have a coarse grind on it. And you can't really find that in the grocery store. You have to have a way, whether with a hand crank, and with a hand crank, I really don't know that you have the ability to change the coarseness or not. I don't have one, so I don't know about that. But with this one, I'm gonna take it all the way so it's gonna be coarse, a coarse flour, and I'm gonna hook. This is what catches your flour, your little containment thing here. It is loud, and I will probably muffle that. And I'm going to use my ancient grain Kamut. It just gives a really nutty, when I was doing some research, one of the big things about the brown Irish soda bread is that it has a real nutty flavor, and Kamut will give a nice nutty flavor. And so that's what we're gonna do. I only need, I need 2 cups of it. So I'm only gonna mill probably about 1 2/3 cup of the wheat berries. That's what they look like. You didn't know. You can also, if you buy wheat berries and you don't have a mill, you can boil them and cook them like a porridge. And these bad boys contain pretty much all the nutrition you need to stay alive. And they will last forever. So, or a very, very long time. But I think at one homeschool conference, one of the people said they actually found some of these ancient grains on the ark. So I don't know how they knew that, but hey, that's what they said. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on and we're going to get this going. It's loud, and this one's supposed to be the quiet one. Oh, I guess it would help if I plugged it up. So it is important that you turn your mill on before you put your grains in, okay? And that you do not turn it off until everything has cleared the hopper. And then once that has done, then you can disconnect your little valve right there. And you can put your lid back on. And I'm actually gonna change it back because that's how I normally do my milling. And I'm done with that. We're going to take 1 cup of our whole wheat flour. We're going to take, I said 1 cup, we're going to take 2 cups. 1, 2, and then we're going to we're going to add, the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I am using all-purpose einkorn flour, but I am only going to use 1 cup because I'm going to use half a cup of sourdough starter. All right, so 1 cup of that, and I'm going to kind of incorporate these two together. She didn't say to sift it. It doesn't say in her notes to sift it. So I'm not going to sift it. Alright, and then we are supposed to add in our other dry ingredients, which are, you need half of a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, or she also said in Ireland they call it bread soda. 1 heaping tablespoon of rolled oats, 1 tablespoon of milled flaxseed, which I have in this bowl already pre-measured out. And she also calls for 1 tablespoon of wheat bran, which I'm not putting in here because my bran is still in my wheat. So I'm not gonna add that in here. All right. And I just wanna kind of mix all of this around to get it incorporated. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we are supposed to take, so let's do that in our bowl here. So what I did, because the sourdough starter is wet, what I have learned when I add sourdough starter in place of flour is I need to reduce my moisture. So I am not adding the last 1/4 cup of buttermilk. I'm only adding 1 cup of buttermilk. You can also sour your own milk with vinegar if you don't have buttermilk. I actually have good buttermilk in the fridge, so I'm using that. So I'm gonna pour my buttermilk in here, and we're gonna get our sourdough out. Before I get it out, you should always stir it up, get your bubble action kind of happy. Whew. Now that right there smells like some St. Patrick's Day. Yes, indeedy. All right, so we're gonna put our 1/2 cup of sourdough in here. So this is where I'm kind of veering off of the recipe. But I will link her recipe. You can totally just do it the way she does it. If you don't have like the equipment like the food mill and, the grain mill and all that great jazz. So, all right, so I've got that. I have 1 of my girls' fresh eggs in here and the olive oil. Get all that out. And now you're gonna beat it together. Smells good. All right, and those are your ingredients. That's it. So now we're going to take our flour. She does recommend you kind of get some flour on your hands, because this is one of those doughs that will just kind of, like I said, it's rustic. It's just going to kind of come together. Let me move these out of the way. I got this from Jovial. When I bought my cookbook and stuff directly from them, they have a cookbook. If you're getting into ancient grains, sourdough, and the neat thing about Jovial is you can buy their products in grocery stores. They have gluten-free varieties if that's an issue. So for right now, I'm just going to kind of use this. It was kind of a little bit of a wet dough. And this one you're not going to bake like with a Dutch oven. You're actually just going to put this on a pan. And I'm just turning it because I still have flour in the bottom of my bowl there, and I'm just trying to get it kind of picked up with it. You're not really kneading this one, you're just kind of incorporating it. And if I feel like it's a little wet, then I can always add a little bit more, because remember I took 1/2 of a cup of the flour away because of the sourdough. And you just kind of have to get a feel for it. And that just takes practice. None of it's going to taste bad. So It's a little wet. But they'll call this, if you watch bakers and stuff like that, they'll call this a shaggy bread. I'm actually going to cook this on my Pampered Chef, it's a clay pan, because you're less likely to get burning. Now the last thing that you're supposed to do with your Irish soda bread is you're supposed to put the cross in the bread. So I'm going to use one of my razor blades. I think she used a knife. And she said you go deep, which may be why she used a knife. And she did it all the way from one side to the other. This is my Irish soda bread. I'm fixing to put it in the oven. My oven has preheated to 425, and I am going to check it when it's been in there for about, honestly, I'll probably check it at 30 minutes and kind of watch it, just because I am really figuring out my oven, my new oven that works properly. And so I just want to make sure. I don't want to burn it for sure. So let's get this in the oven. In the middle rack. I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to set it for 30 minutes. Just a quick tip here. If you want probably one of the best deals you're going to get on cabbage, now is the time to go buy it. I paid 49 cents a pound. That was the cheapest in my area. I found it. A lot of times in years past, I've seen it for 29 cents a pound or 39 cents a pound, but this was the cheapest I could get. It was 49 cents a pound. I bought a lot of heads of cabbages because I'm going to make sauerkraut. Once you ferment your sauerkraut, you can let that stuff, you can ferment it a long time without refrigeration. Once you get it to the desired sourness that you want, then you can put it in your refrigerator and use it as you need it. And these are in season, so if you're wanting to eat seasonally, this is when to do them. But they also will last a long time in your crisper. So even if you don't like kraut, you should pick some of these up, because it's going to give you the most bang for your buck. So just a helpful tip. This is going to go to waste. All this is going to get taken out to the chickens, and they're going to have a nice little treat for their dinner tonight, so they can celebrate St. Patrick too. Now I won't give them the onion skins, but everything else they'll get. All this is in the bowl, and when I get to the last hour of simmering my brisket, I'm going to put this in the pot and let it go for about an hour, and then dinner will be done. This was at 35 minutes. I'm going to call this done. Let's see. Let's take it out. Okay. That's the sound we're looking for. This is hot. I don't have another pot holder. Let's see. Ah, hot. That's what it looks like. It took 35 minutes. It smells really good. So we're just gonna let it sit for a couple hours while our food finishes up. We've got about another hour for the corned beef brisket, and then it's getting warm. I should take my hand out of the vent. We've got about another hour on the corned beef brisket before we're going to add our veg in. And I'm going to start putting in these veggies. I have to add more water to the brine. I told y'all it was going to be a one pot wonder. Okay guys, so exciting. It's done. I just took a fork and I tested my carrots. They're fork tender. My potatoes are. I actually tasted a piece of the cabbage because I love me some cabbage. I'm so glad I didn't put any salt. Whatever the seasoning mix was, is plenty. Gosh, that tastes so good. And we have our Irish brown soda bread over here. So we're gonna plate up our food and then we're gonna try it. And we'll tell you what we think. We'll give you an honest review of how good and delicious this food is gonna taste. Okay, so I've taken my meat out, and you really want to cut it thin. I'm just doing a little bit so we can taste it. Let me get potato, some of that cabbage. I put purple and orange carrots because that's what I had. And there's of course some onion in that. And we're gonna put a little bit of this meat with it so we each can get a bite. This is really hot. We're gonna go ahead and cut the potato. Johnny's here, so he can give you his honest opinion about how tasty this is, right?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. We're gonna slice our bread. So let's see how this
Pretty.
looks. It is supposed to be a rustic bread. I'm just gonna cut it down the middle. It smells good.
Yeah, it smells all right.
So it is
Smells
definitely
different than the regular.
Yeah, it is. And so we'll put a little, we won't even put any butter yet. We'll just taste it. Let's see. All right, get you a fork. Okay, so we've got our food. Could you get your head in here? Okay, so.
I wanted a piece.
Okay, well you can have that piece. Get it with some cabbage.
No, I want to just taste the meat.
It is hot.
Looks like corned beef's good.
Mmm.
Hey, these cabbage are good. Where'd you get those carrots? They taste like real carrots.
Little.
Oh, they did a good job. Good taters.
Hot. Hot. Hot potato.
It doesn't taste bad, it just tastes different. Different texture. I like that cabbage.
I like all of it. It's so good. Now I have to say, let me finish eating my food. There's a hole on the plate.
That cabbage is real good with meat. Real good with that bread. Goes together.
Okay, sorry. I have to say that I typically do not like corned beef. And the seasoning and stuff like that. And it was one of the reasons that I splurged on this one, which was a boar's head. I just had a feeling it might actually taste different than those ones that are always kind of in those big packs at the store. And it does. I will never buy anything but that. And I mean, that is amazing. Really tasty. And yeah. So that's how easy it is to make a St. Patrick's Day meal. This is really good. I think this would be really good. That may be a new recipe I want to try. I'll maybe do a potato soup. I'm thinking that would be really, that bread would be good with it. It is kind of rustic. It's a little crumbly, which is what it's supposed to do. That's why it's a coarser grind, which is what I did in my meal. If you don't have a meal, remember, you can just follow the Irish Grandma's recipe. I'll link it down below. And she has some little tricks in it. So if you don't have a meal, how you can try to get it, still get that kind of texture to your Irish brown bread, soda bread. So with that, I thank you. I hope you found value. I hope you have a happy St. Patrick's Day. I hope you stay safe. And
I'm ready to eat.
so bye. I'll see you next time. Bye.